Possession crucial from this. How much longer will the referee allow? Dublin lead by a point, and there's the whistle. It's over. It's over.
We earned it by winning the last 2 matches on the road, and that's not going to be taken away from us.
But what I love in hurling, I love players that will never give in.
He hits it. It's over the bar. Oh, holy Moses.
Hello everyone and welcome along to the RTÉ GAA Podcast. Éamonn is going to be with myself and Rory a little bit later on to chat football, but Shane is with us first to talk hurling, and no better place to start than at the Gaelic grounds, Cork, Limerick. I think everybody was expecting so much out of this game. Probably they thought they were going to get a tighter game, but what they did get, Shane, was a massive statement by this Limerick team to silence any critics that were out there.
Oh yeah, you'd have to wonder about the critics now that were out there. For me, like Jacqui has said it, I think Limerick are better this year than they've been in the last few years. And I think it's because lads are back from injury. The younger guys, whatever way you want to call them, are a year older, more mature. So now there's more of a trust with John Kiley with them. There's more of a trust now when he looks behind with maybe 4 or 5 guys that, maybe wasn't there last year because lack of experience or one thing or another. And now those guys are coming in and they know they're coming in. So you have to be a top 10 performer on the field to stay on the field. And if you're not, there's 5 guys coming in to finish off the job, and the guys that are coming in are equally as good and maybe going even better in training than some of the guys that are starting, Jacqui. So, I just think even positionally with Kyle Hayes now, so they would have invited him last year, above Croke Park, and he was wing back. When he went in 6 in Croke Park last year, in the space of maybe 7 or 8 minutes, I'd say he was on the ball 6 or 7 times. Yesterday, just couldn't invite him because he was at 6. He's man of the match. As close to a flawless display as a 6 can give, Kyle Hayes gave yesterday in terms of his link in the play, his aerial ability. And I think that's a massive factor. And then the guy to the left of him wasn't in Croke Park last year in the form of Barry Nash. And I just think even the 2 of them being there in the half-back line now, they're just a different team. Shane O'Brien is in unbelievable form. Cian Lynch, as we've said loads of times, is in hurler of the year territory. And Mike Casey's gone up the field scoring points. Peter Casey's coming back, getting a massive roar. It's just all coming together so well for Limerick now. And for me, that's probably their best performance against Cork as a whole group since they beat them in the All-Ireland final a couple of years ago. And it's just it's no surprise that it's because these guys are back. Nicky Quaid makes top drawer save as well yesterday in the first half, stems any kind of momentum for Cork. And I just think all over the field, Limerick won every battle all over the field. And it was built up, I suppose, Rory's saying, we were all kind of saying this was going to be unbelievable. Barcelona, Real Madrid, El Clasico type stuff. But Limerick wanted that. We're not too far away from Limerick where we are here, Jacqui, and just talking to Limerick people and good, really good Limerick hurling people, and they said, we really want to win this one. And whether they wanted to send out a message, they did that, but they really wanted to win that. They wanted to win that as much as they have any match in a long time, because there is this bit of bite between the 2 groups. But as Brendan Cummins said in the comments yesterday, they wanted to send out a message. It's some message they sent out, and I don't know what that bookmakers that were giving the Lee McCarthy to Cork, they knew just at all an advertising flyer or whatever it was. But maybe those things kind of seep into the mindset as well. But do I expect Cork to bounce back from Jacqui and be Waterford next week down in Park Cleeve? I do.
Yeah. But it is a big test of their character though, Rory, because there's no doubt about it. I don't think even Cork would have been expecting to be steamrolled that way that they were against Limerick, even with Limerick in the pomp that they showed yesterday. What's
that line in Flowers of Scotland? Send them home to think again. And that was what was jumping out at me. This was an awesome display by Limerick. Flawless, I think Shane mentioned, and it was right across the team. Couldn't get any joy off their own puck outs. They were completely blotted out from their full forward line. They didn't really get any. You get a sniff of a goal. Hoggy maybe had one half a chance, we'll say, in that first half, where Nicky Quaid made a really good save, but it was a nice height for him. the hooking, the blocking, the tackling, the physicality, and I think all across from 1 to 15, Limerick absolutely bossed it. And yeah, I think they're the best team in Ireland, and they have been for the last 10 years. They're thereabouts. They got caught last year. I think they're right back at it. I think the infusion of the likes of Adam English, Cathal O'Neill, Shane O'Brien has definitely given them a little bit more impetus. And you look then as well, they kind of rested most of their frontliners right throughout the league. Garrod was struggling for a little bit of form. He kind of thundered back into the game at times yesterday. They've got good options off the bench. Like, they're going nowhere, and they will be the team to beat from here on.
Yeah, looks like it. 7 in a row would be some going in Munster, Shane, given, the challenges that they have relentlessly faced and managed to come back. And I think maybe that's the biggest thing at all for John Kiley. Just listening to him the way he was talking yesterday, you're right. They wanted this one. I think they, it's very, very clear now. Another All-Ireland final is well within their reach, again, based on current evidence.
100%. And then you look at the Limerick-Clare match now. Like, John Kiley can use that. He can turn around to guys who are number 16 to 36 in their panel go, a lot of you guys know we're going to play a championship match against Clare in our place. We don't want to lose this match, and it's going to be on ye. And if you perform well, you're going to move up the ranks. And if you don't perform well, I'm giving you your chance now. So you can't turn around to me in a few weeks and say, I never got a chance. And I'd say to me, 9-10 guys now be absolutely busting for road there when they get back training, maybe tomorrow night or Wednesday night. And they'll probably name their team Friday as they do. And I'd say you're going to see a raft of changes, Jacqui, which is only normal. And you'll see probably Peter Casey starting, Aidan O'Connor starting, Colin Coughlin starting. In defence, you might see a couple of things. Maybe Dan Morrissey might get a rest. Maybe Kyle might get a rest at 6, and maybe Deccy Hannon might come back in at 6. Maybe Darragh O'Donovan gets his first start of the year in midfield with either Will or Adam. And there'll probably be 3 or 4 guys that will say that John Kiley knows need to play the games. They don't need the rest. There are certain individuals that just need to keep playing, and they need it for themselves, and John Kiley will feel he needs it too. But a raft of change is coming, and those lads will be getting a mission, I suppose, to keep this thing going, and they'll do it for a group. They're such a close group, the Limerick lads. As I always say, everything they do on the field, they do off the field together as well, and that's very evident in what they do as well. But I just think they're on another level now. They've sent out their message. They've done what they need to do. They're back in Munster final, just on their 7 in a row, Jacqui, as well. With all due respect to what went on before, with teams getting 5, 6 in a row in Munster, their 7 in a row is phenomenal.
Totally.
Because their 7 in a row is involving, a few years of round robin games. Their 7 in a row is involving COVID. Their 7 in a row is involving every team getting to their absolute pitch to try and beat them in Munster. And every team, I suppose, is playing their mini All-Ireland against Limerick in that 7 in a row, potential 7 in a row that they're going to do. It's hard to see them not doing it now, to be honest, but it just has to be up there as, like, maybe as a sporting achievement for Limerick, the greatest ever, like in any sport. And for this group, and I suppose, Jacqui, they went out yesterday as a group who've done it all. They've won everything that they could possibly win as a group, individually and as a collective. And I'd say they wanted to prove to themselves yesterday, more so than to the likes of me or you or Rory or anybody else outside, that, hey, do you know what? We're still a serious group, and we've got 5 or 6 lads driving us on here. And I'd say that dressing room yesterday, was, I won't say euphoric, but I just think there was a sense of, we're here now. We've arrived now, and let's see what the rest of them are going to bring. Like,
well, let's see what Cork are going to bring, Shane, because I do wonder now. You're right. You said you think that they're going to bounce back against Waterford. I think it's still the questions that they're going to have to answer, because the vulnerabilities at the back that you have talked about on the podcast, Rory has identified, a number of other people have mentioned them. They were clear for all to see again yesterday. Rob Downey going off, obviously a massive concern for Cork. And you wonder, what is the damage when they look at it in the cold light of day now, and how they respond from here?
Yeah, and I suppose who's their 6, Rory, that's probably a question. Like, Kieran went in there to try and tag Keane Lynch yesterday. It just didn't work out, like, and even we won't call it tackle, but the arm out even to Galan to try and stop him going in. You know that physicality, lads, I suppose we were talking about that we felt Cork had as a group this year. It just wasn't evident there yesterday. And maybe like it was just they weren't up for it, as a collective. It just didn't happen for them. And that the blitz of a start that Limerick got as well, like it's a killer. And their first game back at home this year, and the place is packed out, and that roar goes up, and Galan gets the goal, and Keane Lynch is on fire, and Tom Morrissey's back to his best, and Garrod Hegarty, and all these players that the fans have a spiritual connection with are firing. So that's an extra roar, an extra 1%. And Cork just could not find a way back. Like mentally now for them, whether they meet collectively or in their small groups today for recovery or whatever they're going to do, they're just going to have to park it. Like, and I'm sure Pat Ryan, you know, a very, very good manager with them, will be able to speak to them and just say it was what it was today, and we have to move on now, and we have to move on quick. If I could like say compare something like it in my own experience, but we had way more time. Like in 2010, we went down to Cork. We got an awful beating after the whole world and its mother thinking that we were going to win the All-Ireland, no bother the following year because of what we did in 2009. And maybe
is that the day Asaki was in full forward?
Yeah. Michael Cusson was playing. We just like as Liam Sheedy, like rightly so, he could have taken off the 15 of us that day, and it was just that bad. But we had weeks and weeks, Jacqui. Like we had 5 weeks, I think, to try and get the thing right, to even play a couple of club games. This is where the challenge is for Cork, I suppose. For every week they have a day. So they have today for recovery, tomorrow to come in. And maybe nothing needs to be said. Maybe they all know themselves. Or maybe someone just needs to say something and say, that wasn't us last Sunday, lads, 2 days ago. And now we have 4 days for our whole year is resting on the line. Their whole year, like, and you know what? Like I said about Clare before, there's lots more things on the line here too. Because we all just thought Cork, they were just primed to do this, like. And yesterday they got a big wake-up call. But you know what? It's still in their hands to stay in this thing.
Yeah.
And it's still in their hands to get to a Munster final.
Yeah.
So,
I do think that's actually crazy that they could potentially be out of the All-Ireland Championship along with the current All-Ireland champions, or be in a Munster final on the back of one result.
Yeah, it's gas. And Waterford, you know, yesterday took a lot out of Waterford. Like, it took a lot out mentally and physically. It was so hot yesterday up there in Hurley. The pitch was playing so fast, as all the pitches were. And they like that will take a lot out of them to try and get back against the Cork team who love playing at home, who know every inch of that ground so well, who will be absolutely buzzing. So that's why I feel, Jacqui, with the match being on in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, I just think it's advantage Cork like this weekend to get into the Munster final and, you know, redemption or whatever they want to call it, maybe get another crack at Limerick. I suppose we all said that this would probably be one of 3 meetings, maybe. Well, it'll probably, I think Cork will win at the weekend, and it'll definitely be 1 or 2 anyway. You see what way the year takes you after that, like, you know.
Yeah.
But they need to produce something though, Jacqui. Like if you were to, they were always going to be judged on championship, and if you were to sort of take a report card thus far, 12-point lead squandered above an Ennis and lucky to get out with a draw, albeit down to 14 players. Beat Tipperary, yeah, but played +1 for 75 minutes, and the game was busted before the ball was even thrown in. And now you've suffered a pretty horrendous defeat to Limerick, who look like they're back to their very best. So the championship sort of stock wouldn't necessarily be floating too high. So like they have a chance, obviously, to put a few things right, but it's coming quick, and it's coming on Sunday.
Yeah. I saw a brilliant tweet yesterday, and it was like, NASA have confirmed that Cork supporters have all arrived safely back in Earth. And I probably think that is a nice little reality check for them. Because, like, Rory, they're going to have a Waterford team who are coming saying, okay, again, albeit they got a beating yesterday, they will have felt that maybe some of the wides and their own selection shots was poor, and they can't do that. But equally, like Cork, the destiny is in their own hands. They can go to Cork and win at the weekend and find themselves getting out of Munster, something they haven't been able to do. And I think they'll still secretly be saying we have a massive chance here. Beat
Cork in the championship last year under Davy. I would say they're better than they were last year, and they gave as good as they got yesterday for long periods. They got that match back to a draw with what, 10 minutes to go, Shane? Was
it's actually a draw. Like even, minute 51 is 20 points to 117. Tip went on a run. Actually, Tip's dominance, like I just wrote down, just being after trying to write down notes quick. 51 minutes is 20 points to 117, but it's the next 5 minutes to actually win the match for Tip.
Yeah.
Because they actually scored 5 points in that 5 minutes. And minute 56, it's 25-117. Tip started to load the bench. So yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying, Rory. Like they never go up to fight. They did not. You know what I mean? They're big guys too. Like Jamie Barron took the fight to him. Like it was.
He was outstanding.
It was like Tig won some big balls there. Like Darrell Lyons middle of the field, he got on ball. Bennett, although the freeze didn't go well for him at the start, he really roared into it in the second half. Daisy probably didn't have his best day, like, and that's maybe, I'd say he'll have a big point to prove to himself as well, being captain and everything, like, he only scored a point from play, he picked up a yellow card as well, so, all those factors, like, I just worry what it took out of Waterford yesterday, Rory. That's genuine just from being there, like lads with the tongues were hanging out at 5-6 minutes, both teams. It was just that hot, like the pitch was playing that hard.
Michael Duignan mentioned that they should have had water breaks. Would that be?
I suppose then do you have to have water breaks across the whole weekend then? Like will another county or another team say, sure, it was equally as hot in Kilkenny or it was equally as hot down in Wexford as it was up in Hurley, why didn't we get water breaks? Maybe that would have been a factor. So it's a gas thing, I suppose, that we need to think about, like, I suppose, because it's so warm. But
Shane, can I ask you, right? Because obviously neither Jacqui nor myself would have ever experienced it. But when you're playing hurling in that heat with the helmet on, how much more intense does it feel like? Because obviously the sweat can't go anywhere; it's sitting inside the helmet.
I was asking my wife, myself and my wife Joanne, we offloaded the kids yesterday and we went off to the match together, and we hadn't done it in a long time. It was actually lovely, and we were there, and I just said to her, like, was it ever this hot, like, when we were playing? And she goes, oh, it definitely was. And what I was saying to her was, when you're out there, you're just in that zone that while you're sitting above in the stand watching on and the heat is intense, when you're out there and you're running around, you don't feel it as much. You don't pay heed to it as much because the mentality is you're in the game. What a lot of lads would do, like with the helmets, I suppose, Rory, is like a lot of lads, they're going to the physio before the warm-up, maybe going to the physio again right before throwing, and you're getting a big waft of Vaseline put over the forehead, like, just to keep the sweat off, because if you don't, like, you will be getting the jersey every few minutes. You will have to wipe it away. There's a bit of sting in the eye. Next thing, your eye's a bit blurry. The next ball's coming down. You don't quite get on it, or you know what I mean? They're all like 1%ers. So for me as a player, when you're out there, you're just not taking the heat of it as the crowd would, because also when you're running around, you're getting that whatever bit of a breeze is, you're getting it out on the pitch. Whereas the spectators, you're sitting down in a stand and you're feeling every bit of that heat, where players wouldn't. Obviously, they're sweating more, but I suppose the advice they're getting from a nutritionist and from a hydration standpoint, like them guys, men and women, they will know exactly the electrolytes they need, how much water they need to take on before the game, how much they need to take on at every opportunity they can. So they're very well versed in that regard, as regards what the hydration levels need to be. So as a player, I just don't think you're taking the heat of it maybe as what a spectator would, if that makes sense. Like,
well, come here, what's the temperature in Tipperary hurling supporter levels at now? Because now that you're there, you're in the mix, there's got to be like the feel good factor, Shane. It even felt it in Thurles yesterday, like it's right back.
There's a funny thing going around as well. Lads were saying, someone texts people, said, did you hear what happened in Thurles after the match yesterday? And he's like, no. I said, oh, Jeannie, what, did you hear what was said? There, oh my God, was something between the management, or there's something happened between the officials? Someone said, people are saying Tip are back. So, so it's just, you have to laugh. You can't leave eventually, I suppose. He said, we're not back, but we're getting there. And I think he summed up fairly well. Like,
that's a good way of putting it.
As you said last night, Jacqui, on the telly, that's our first championship win in Thurles in 6 years.
It's mad.
And
I couldn't believe it. And then I could. You know what I mean? You kind of just forget that it's been that long.
Like like you try and go to as much of these games as you can. But yesterday, I think Bruce Springsteen Glory Days was played over the speakers, and there was just a feeling of not Glory Days that were like Limerick now at the moment, but like to say we got to win in Thurles, like, and even going over to the Dome to watch the Limerick and Cork match. It was just such a good feeling around the place. Everybody was in good form. They didn't care if there was a bit of traffic. They didn't care about it. Most people actually stayed on and watched most of the Limerick Cork game, and majority of the traffic has gone home at that stage. So there's just a great feeling around the place with the 20s winning during the week. Like that was Sam McFarland, Darren McCarthy, Oisin Donoghue. Like that's their second game in a few days. But you know what, Jacqui, you know yourself playing sport. When you're winning those 2 games in a few days, your recovery is no bother at all. Because mentally you're in such a good place. We've an under-20s Ireland final to look forward to in a couple of weeks' time. We're in the knockout of the Munster Championship. Like if we're not in the Munster final, it's not the end of the world for Tip. And I mean this, like, and the boys, I'm sure the boys would love to be there. Of course they would. Jeez, like as a player, as a Tip hurler, to get to a Munster final and to play there, that's as good as it gets. It's close as it gets to an All-Ireland final. People coming from all over Ireland, from all over the world, flying home to watch Munster finals. And I'm sure the players themselves, the management, but I'm just saying maybe as a fan, as a spectator looking on, or someone who's looking at this, if we didn't get to a Munster final, it's not the end of the world. Because if you get to a Munster final and what potentially could happen with the form that Limerick are in right now, it could be more detrimental to your All-Ireland campaign than maybe going in, playing your prelim quarter against the Joe McDonagh, either winner or runner-up. And then you're going into quarter-final with a bit of momentum, with a good buzz, and you just don't know where it's going to go. And everything now, like the pressure's off now, Jacqui, to a degree, like in regards that we're out now. We're out of Munster. This was the goal at the start of the year. A lot of people said we wouldn't do it. And, you know, a lot of people were questioning what was going on. And you could see the emotion there in Liam Cahill yesterday. Like, that meant a lot to him yesterday. Like, that meant a lot to the players now as well. But I suppose Liam has taken a fair old bit of flack, one thing or another. That's the nature of us in Tip. We're slapping you on the back 1 minute and we could be kicking you up the arse another minute. And that's just the way it has been and always will be in Tip. When you're winning, everything's fine. And when you're losing, everything is wrong. Every single thing is wrong. The time the match was on, where the match was on, what kind of chicken and pasta they ate before the match, where they ate the chicken and pasta, what lads were doing 4 weeks before the match in their back garden. They shouldn't have stayed out to half an hour. He shouldn't have been farming that day. He shouldn't have been doing this. And when you win, everything is fine, as in any sport. So they're in a great place. I don't know if you've seen the picture of Liam Cahill as with his daughter.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's another big one for where we're at in what the GAA means. Was it Gerlach Nairn's quote? People say that hurling is very small in the bigger scheme of things, but to hurling people, it is the bigger scheme of things or something. I think that was the quote Gerlach Nairn. And I suppose that's evident yesterday. You see Liam with the daughter and the communion dress and all them things. And maybe a lot of people might realise that. Like, so I suppose that's what Tip means to Liam Cahill. That's what Tip means to Mikey Beavens, to all that management team, to that group of players. And performance-wise, I thought we were the better team on the day. I think the Waterford start they got was just a blitz. And I thought we settled very, very well into it. And I said that 5-minute period between minute 51 and 56, we scored 5 points. They don't score at all. And I think that sets us up for victory. And I suppose Noel coming on and getting his point, you know, just another icing on the cake, if you want to call it. Oisin O'Donoghue's maturity for his finish, Jacqui. He probably knew he couldn't letter it. And he just rolled it in I actually thought it was a mishit, but I watched it last night. He knew exactly what he was doing there yesterday. Darren McCarthy nailed 11 out of 11 frees. For a fellow who got sent off and missed frees against Limerick the last day in Thurles, that's some maturity. Heroes all over the field. Andy Ormond has been burning it up for his club, JK Brackens, for some time now. And underage for Tip, he's stepping up. Jake Morris, 4 points from play. J.O., 2 sidelines. Brian O'Mara was probably man of the match for me, a wing back. Like Owen Connolly with 3 points again, full back, 2 from frees, 1 from play. And like Reece Shelley's puckouts. I think you had to be there to appreciate how good they were. And I love Barry Hogan now as a goalie. But I suppose Reece was brilliant there yesterday as well. So all in all, great performance, really good feeling. And we would have bitten the hand off you at the start of the year for this, Jacqui, to be where we are now.
No.
They'll be so dangerous in the All-Ireland series, Jacqui. Like, the reality is now, even from this juncture, for your season to be considered a success, I think the baseline minimum requirement is to make it to All-Ireland semi-final weekend, because that's kind of the Mardi Gras weekend. And what a wonderful opportunity for Tipperary to be there now.
Yeah, big time. Lastly, one quick word on Dublin Kilkenny, which was really the marquee game in Leinster, Shane. And I wonder what it's a two-sided coin for Dublin, is that they stayed in the fight, they didn't give up, and they'll take a huge amount from that. But also just the amount of easy goals they gave up, too many blows again. And it's happened again for them against Kilkenny. So I guess it's just what for them is the outlie of a game when they come into effectively a Leinster semi-final against Galway, and how they might learn those lessons from the Kilkenny game.
Yeah, I suppose they like Cork now, they have no choice but to look at the positives now. I don't think they even have time to look. If they're doing video work on that game, you might spend a fraction of it on the learnings. You have to look at the positives and what they did well, because there isn't time to correct the other things, Jacqui. You just have to keep looking at what did we do well in the game. Let's do that and more now, because there isn't a 2-3 week break where you could say, look, defensively, lads, let's try this the next day. Sure, you don't. Like, you can't even, like, you hardly have time for an internal game this week with lads coming back from recovery and, you know, the quick turnaround of the fixture. So I think Neil Calican has to say, lads, this is all the things we did well. All right, there's a couple of learnings here. Let's look at them quick. But these are all the things we did well. Yeah, we were down 12, 13 points at one stage, but we clawed it back and we never gave up the fight. And like Tip against Cork, they never gave up the fight. Dublin never gave up the fight. And like, they got into a game that they'd probably no right to be in finishing up, but they still did it. And that's what Neil Calican has to take out of that now, that they never give up the fight. There are hurlers there. We do have a good team. And like Cork, it's still all in their hands to get to a Leinster final. And I suppose if you said that to Dublin at the start of the year, no more than you said it to anyone, they would have taken the hand off you for that. So it's still all to play for. They were still going to have to get something out of this game, Jacqui. And I think maybe it's a good little wake-up call for a few of them too, to say top-level teams, lads, can't make those mistakes. And here's another top-level team. But you know what? Up to Parnell, fill it out with Dublin people. Good test for Galway as well. And as Joe said last night, I think he's right, we'll know exactly where both these teams are at when the final whistle goes in Parnell at the weekend.
Yeah, big time. Between that and the Offaly Antrim game, we're not short of drama in Leinster. We'll get back to all those on Thursday when we are looking ahead to those ones. But Shane, thanks a million for being with us, and enjoy Tip being back. It's nice to have you.
We never really went away, Jacqui.
He hits it! It's over the bar! Oh, holy Moses!
All right, Éamonn is with us to chat football now, and I think probably the result of the weekend is Cavan's victory against Mayo, and one, Éamonn, I would suggest absolutely nobody saw coming, and it has blown that group wide open.
It has, Jacqui. Yeah, it was a surprising result. You have to look before analysing Mayo and looking at Mayo, you have to give a lot of credit to Cavan. I was at their game against Tyrone in the Ulster Championship, and they weren't at it at all that day. They didn't tactically. They weren't at it. There had a lot of under par performances from the players, and as can often be the case when you lose a game and you don't play well, they actually looked unfit. They didn't look like that they were at the required level. I did see somewhere last night that maybe Raymond Galligan said it, or one of the players, that they did do a good bit of fitness work over the last couple of weeks, the 5 weeks that they had since that game, to kind of bring themselves up to scratch. And I think even looking at the highlights with G last night, Jacqui, you could see they were full of running, and a lot of the scores they got came from hard running and support play up the pitch, and they were impressive. So look, they deserve massive credit for righting the ship after that performance in Ulster 5 weeks ago. From the Mayo perspective, it's a serious defeat. Their record hasn't been great in McHale Park over the last couple of years. It is very Mayo-like to get themselves into these situations and to dig themselves out of it. But at the same time, you know, they're away to Tyrone next. They've Donegal coming in the last game. There's no easy games there. And just the fact that they were so far off it yesterday, there's going to be a good bit of soul-searching for them. Yeah,
and that's the fear, Rory. Like, there isn't evidence right now that they could go to Omagh and get a win.
No, and like the reality, like Cavan have them on the head-to-head now as well.
Yeah. So they have to win one of those games.
So they have to win, and it may still not even be enough should the two of them end up on 3 points. But it's a massive blow. I think Mayo were always a funny team. Like, we remember a few years ago where Derry, who were playing, I think, Division 4 football at the time, took them to extra time. I think on another occasion, Cork, when Mayo had been in the All-Ireland final the previous year and took Dublin all the way, Cork were in a sort of a rebuild mode, which is going on for probably 20 years now at this stage. But like, down the Gaelic grounds, Cork nearly beat them. Took them into extra time, and it was again a very close run thing. Mayo have this strange ability to like rise to the level of the team that they're playing, if it's a Galway or a Dublin or a Kerry, but they also seem to do the converse, where they can drop down to a level if a team, now that might be being a little bit unfair on Cavan and the performance that they gave yesterday. Like 7-4 at half time. Apparently, I was only heard snippets on the radio. I didn't see this match in full. Like, the game was terrible by all accounts. It wasn't a good game. I could assume the wind probably played a big factor in that. It was very low scoring. 7-4. That's like a scoreline a halftime scoreline you'd see under the old rules. But Cavan came out straight away. First thing they did, beginning of the second half, score a goal, got a couple of points, got a massive course of belief. And I think, look, they won by 3, but I think it was a late goal by Aidan O'Shea just to put a bit of glass on the scoreline, really. And it's fully deserved. And yeah, problems for Mayo, problems for Cavan.
That goal could be important, though, because as you say, if 3 teams end up on the same points, maybe the points difference does come into it. And I think for them, they're scrambling. Rory's point is interesting there, Éamonn, though, because I did feel in the Connacht final, they had a chance of beating Galway. And I thought, oh, wow, this is Mayo rising to that level. But then based on Saturday night's evidence, I'm not sure about Galway now either. So there are probably questions there about maybe their peaks and troughs, because phenomenal performance by Dublin, but some questions about Galway now as well.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that this morning, Jacqui. You know, other years you can draw lines between performances and teams and so on, but it's this year, I think, look, with everything that's going on, there is a kind of an uncertainty and a freshness about it, but where Galway at because of the way Mayo played, where Meath at because of the way Dublin played against Galway, where Louth at then because they beat Meath. Louth's performance in Clare yesterday, you know, where does that put them? Where does that mean Kerry are because of the way Kerry played against Clare? So it's, you know, you can go down this rabbit hole and start saying, you know, what does it mean? I think what it emphasizes possibly for the next couple of weeks is it's almost old style championship, that every game we're just going to have to take it on its merits. And I think teams are going to take points off each other. Teams are going to beat each other. We're going to get the surprise results, which is great. It's great for the championship. It's great for us looking on, that there isn't a predictability about it. There isn't a procession about it. There isn't anything about teams pulling handbrakes or anything else, because on any given weekend, teams are going to beat each other, which is great. It's exciting, but it like, looking at Mayo, they're going to have to dig deep again. They're good at it. They are good at digging deep.
Like that's very true, Éamonn. Like, would you put it past them to go to Oma and win?
Oh no, I wouldn't.
You know, that's the thing with Mayo.
And Tyrone's record in Oma as well isn't what it would have been. But I do expect Tyrone to come all guns blazing, because they weren't a million miles away from it either in that Armagh game. So again, where Tyrone at, where Armagh, you know, it's a huge jigsaw for us at the moment. But it's going to make for some battling in Oma in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, big time. I love that we all thought the group of death was actually that Dublin Armagh one, but now you're like, actually Mayo. There you go. Who knew? Let's go to that game then, though, Éamonn, because it did feel like this was the game of the weekend. Dublin, Galway, Salt Hill, unbelievable sunshine. You're looking at the drone footage, all the people on the beach, and I was thinking, like, where in the world would you rather be? And suddenly, when you're asking about form lines and where teams are, I think the Dubs have reminded us they're not gone away, maybe either.
No, definitely not. And the question was, and I think the question that I would have had is, could they react? They would, of course, they were going to want to react, and they would have been very disappointed by the defeat against Meath. And again, some of the narrative after that match maybe was around Dublin underperforming, but Meath were outstanding that day as well, and they really played very well. And they played to the conditions and they played to the new rules, and they deserve a lot of credit for that win. But to be fair to Dublin, they were going to have the couple of weeks to go away and gather themselves. I think getting the likes of Sean Bugler back was a huge factor. Then you had the likes of Kieran Kilkenny playing probably one of the best games he's ever played for Dublin.
Theo Clancy was outstanding at fullback,
Excellent.
by the way.
Theo Clancy outstanding of some of the younger players.
Younger guys,
Killian McGuinness again, very good. He's a player I've had a lot of time for over the last couple of years. Padro Cuffig Byrne had a big performance in the middle of the field. There was question marks over him.
Yep.
There were so many of them that played very, very well. Cluxton, of course, made a brilliant one-on-one save in the first half. A kind of a reflex save, to be fair to him. Now, I think Shane Welch, if he had the shot back, he'd have finished it a bit better. He was a bit, I don't know, was he careless with it? But Cluxton still had to react to the ball. The kick out at the end, the way they ate up the clock, the working the winner, the hooter, beater, and all of that. So you have to be hugely impressed with Dublin. But like I said, it's easier said than done saying we have to react. Reacting is another thing. Did they have it in them? And they really, really did. And they were so impressive. They got Luke Branagh back in the pitch as well, who had been very impressive for them during the league and who was injured. He's another fella they're going to have over the next couple of weeks. And again, it's just going to be so interesting now. They've Armagh coming to Croke Park the June weekend. What a game that is. And Derry, we haven't seen sight nor light of them, obviously, since the end of the league. They've gone away. They've probably done another pre-season. They're probably going to come back a different team. That battle with Armagh next weekend, which incidentally, I don't think we can see anywhere. I don't think it's actually on anywhere, which is remarkable. The All-Ireland champions playing Derry, and we're not going to be able to watch it. But anyway, that's a different conversation. But
the All-Ireland champions in their first round of Sam Maguire defence, effectively, and it's not on anywhere.
It's not on anywhere. But having Armagh playing Dublin, regardless of the result, Armagh and Dublin in Croke Park in a couple of weeks' time is going to be some game. But the Dubs are just so impressive. Their work rate, it was about their work. They went back to basics. They said, okay, what can we control? We can control how hard we're going to work. Desi mentioned afterwards about the DNA of the group, and they wanted to go back to the DNA of what they were about. They went back to working hard and being accurate when they were in possession. And they so did it, and they were led from the front by Con and Kieran Kilkenny. The way they were tackling, the way they worked, the way they won kickouts, the scores they got, they drove them on, and all of the younger, more inexperienced players came with them. So, needless to say, the Dubs are going to be a force, and they're going to have a big say in it. The challenge for them now, strangely to say for a Dublin team, is backing it up, is consistency, because they had a topsy-turvy league where they did have big performances. They had a great win below on Tralee, then they had a bad loss to Armagh above an Armagh, so they were kind of up and down in the league, whereas I'd expect them to build on this defeat or this win, and they'll still draw on the Meath defeat, and they'll take stopping.
Yeah, it's funny because I think, was it Tomas last week was saying, Rory, he didn't see them as All-Ireland contenders. We've had a lot of people this year saying, I don't think so. But then when you take down Galway in Salt Hill, who would have felt themselves that they were actually going quite well, does it turn the credentials in Dublin's favour now?
I wouldn't be so sure just yet. They still have unbelievable quality. I mean, you still have the likes of Owen Merchant, the Smalls, Lee Gannon. There's, a couple of very high quality players to come back in that you could spread across the team. There's still a lot of chopping and changing going on. Would you have picked that Dublin team beforehand? You wouldn't have. I didn't know much about Brian O'Leary. He started. Killian McGuinness we did know about, but again, then you had Alex Cavan and Sean McMahon who were late changes as well. So does he know his best 15? Is he getting closer to that? There's still, I suppose, some level of uncertainty around Dublin. But what you would absolutely have to say, to go back and echo what Éamonn mentioned earlier, the old-fashioned values were the ones that came to the fore. And they worked like demons. I mean, right throughout the team, you could sense that there was a really good togetherness from the first whistle to last. They never stopped hassling, harrying. You could see it even in the substitutions that Galway ended up making, and some of the players that they took off would probably give you a really good indication of the success that Dublin had. Even Pascal, I was very curious about him because he missed a couple of really good scores. I wouldn't say easy scores. They were tricky enough. But his work rate around the field is something else far forward. And I think he kind of typifies that type of spirit that Desi would now expect. But I wouldn't be surprised if all the teams in this group end up beating each other, to go back to our earlier point around how to try and read form lines into this. Would it be a surprise if Armagh were to beat Dublin the next day? Would it be a surprise if Galway were to beat Armagh? I mean, this is going to be one hell of a roller coaster of a group, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely think your point about them all beating each other is well made, because I do think for Galway now, they're going to have to do something, Éamonn, in terms of for them to bounce back and remind people, because I think there are patches of the Galway team, even within a game within the game. There's a 15-minute spell where they're doing everything brilliant. You see Peter Cook coming back on the field and you're thinking, okay, they're finding a shape to this team that's really going somewhere. But then they can't manage out a game at the end either. So all those question marks that Pádraig Joyce will still have about this team, they're not the finished article yet, that's for sure.
They're not. Of course, it's a setback, Jacqui, in such a competitive group. And again, I think the Derry element to this group is going to be critical. Where are Derry at? If Derry,
they're like the wild card in this group, aren't they?
If Derry can win a game or two, which it's not beyond them. If they have everyone back on the field and pitch, obviously Gareth McKenlis is out for the season, but if they have the players that they were missing during the league, if they have all of them on the pitch, and for a group that were going hard at it for 3 or 4 years, they've had a significant enough break there, and I'm not sure exactly how long it is, 6 or 7 weeks out of the spotlight to retool for the championship. They're not going to be easy, especially up there the next day. Galway are going up there. They drew with them during the league up there, where Derry had a great second half comeback. So I think Derry could be the fly in the ointment, yes. But for Galway, absolutely. Look, they've been in this situation before where they've won games, lost games. They've been in the group of death every year of this format. Yeah. So they're used to being in these situations, and they'll keep going. I think an interesting point at the end of the game was, again, the new rules are bringing so many kind of new factors into the game that we're only learning as we're going. When they got that free right at the end, John Daly did what John Daly does on instinct, swung a fantastic ball inside to Matthew Tierney over the bar, level game, minute on the clock, face a kick out. You would say, correct decisions, correct execution all the way. Now, because of the way it panned out and Dublin went up and got the winner, should they have put the ball down and gone for the 2-pointer? Should Conor Gleeson have come up? He's a good record of kicking those under pressure, as he did in the Connacht final last year to win it. That would have put them one ahead, and then the Dubs would have had to get up, and if it had panned out, would they have gone for an equaliser? Would they have tried to work a 2 to win it? It's just bringing all these new decisions into the game that we're only learning about as we go. So it'll be interesting. Now, if they had put it down then and had missed
it.
yeah, which Shane Welch did in the first half. He tried to chip a 45 back to work as a 2, and he ended up kicking it wide. So there's plenty for Padre Joyce. He was very disappointed afterwards. I think he knew the significance of losing the home game because of the quality of the teams in the group. But as Rory said, this group isn't going to be straightforward. There's going to be twists and turns, and I think Derry will be part of those twists and turns as well.
Yeah, agreed. Come here, on the rules, I have to ask you about the kick out thing, because like even we were watching it, we were like, here, there's a blind spot. We're going to have to do something about this.
What's the value in it though, Éamonn?
You see, the funny thing about this, when I was at the Kerry game on Saturday, and anything that kind of happens, or go, what's going on there? What's this about?
It's all your fault.
Yeah, basically. Then I'm involved with my own club, Fanouig, and we're at the County League game on Sunday, and something happened, and the whole place again is looking at me. Nearly the referee is looking at me to say, what's this and what did you do? That rule actually was always there.
An old rule.
That's not a new rule.
And we're not tempted to change it then, no.
We didn't. We did. Did we change enough, Jacqui?
Yeah.
I don't know. No, that rule was always there. And I think where it was, I remember presenting to the Kerry County Board previous to the rules being adopted. And a question came up around that, because people were looking at the rules around the kick out because of the changes that were being made. So they became aware of it. And it was the awareness of the rule. And as Conor Gleeson did the last day, the goalkeeper can kick it to themselves, but they can't pick it up. That's why he dribbled it out soccer style and kicked it out soccer style. It had been tried during the league. Niall Morgan did it, and Carlo did it earlier on in the league as well, where they tried it. But I haven't seen any teams going back doing it. But to answer your question, I don't know why we didn't change it, but it's there. And it's possibly a thing we could see again. Conor Gleeson, obviously, Galway had their homework done, and they decided that if they were under pressure in their own kick out, it was a way that they could just get the balls into the hands of some fella. But you can be sure now teams will be thinking about, if the keeper does kick it to themselves, they'll be pressing almost pressing soccer style to go after the goalie to try and get it off him, because the forwards obviously can go after it inside the arc, the back and
Yeah, it's funny because I was actually thinking, Rory, when this was all going on yesterday, we were sitting saying, ring him in there and ask him what's going on. But also I was thinking, wait until this gets a hold in the club game and people start doing this all over the place. I can see all kinds of things going wrong here.
Yeah, it'll definitely, did Pascal or did Dublin push up on the second one and turn it over?
Or came off the jet.
I'm not entirely sure of the value of it.
Yeah.
If I was managing a club team or involved with a club and I saw a club goalkeeper at this, I'd be saying, listen, pal,
there's risk everywhere.
It's fine for intercounty to be taking chances. You just put the ball down and lamp it out and don't be, fluting around in the full back line here.
You have to blame Maris Davin for that one, Jacqui. I'd say that goes all the way back to the start, so you can't.
Does it? Oh, fair play. No, but it was some game though. What a game of football it was. It was absolutely outstanding. It was, it was, again, like so many football matches that we've seen so far. They are a bit like boxing matches now, where teams are sort of having periods of dominance and they're winning rounds. And it was right in the balance, right in the mix. The Galway scored just after halftime. What a rocket. I mean, Cluxton didn't even move for that one. I thought Costello's goal was absolute quality as well. He was a lovely controlled hop, actually, where he managed to just gain that extra yard. And the lads were kind of suggesting, I think, on the TV coverage that he fluked it. I wouldn't be so sure. I think he probably did try and put it under Conor Gleeson's legs. I'd say that's in Costello's locker. And
it highlighted as well, Rory, have been comfortable on both feet. He was able to keep going away from Liam Silk, because Liam Silk is no slouch.
It's quick,
If he was relying completely on his right foot, he could have brought Liam Silk back into the equation, but by being able to drill it with his left foot. He kept him kind of at arm's length. So it was. I would agree with you. I thought it was a great finish. And look, you know, whatever team, whether you're coaching an under 10 girls team, if you're talking
Keep it low.
finish, keep it low. Hard
Keep
for
it low.
keeper to save it. If it's on the deck, even if it's not a perfect strike.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and then who would have picked Tom Lahiff? Who would have picked Tom Lahiff to come up as the match winner then on top of everything else? It was, look, it was, you mentioned there, Jacqui, the drone footage, Salt Hill, massive Dublin crowd, massive Galway crowd. It had everything that you would want in a championship match, and a brilliant victory for Dublin. And good luck to them now. I think, yeah, look, they will be a force, but I wouldn't be certain just about them just yet.
Yeah. Well, listen, there's a long road to go in that one. Kerry's group looks a little more straightforward, and let's round off on them, Éamonn, because I think even the lads were kind of saying this last night on TV. You know, there's nothing Kerry can do. They just have to keep winning these games and find out when the tests do come at them, they just hope they're ready for them. But based on the evidence of the weekend, I think they're moving okay.
Yeah, it was it was a kind of a strange game, Jacqui. Look, again, I think you have to give credit to Roscommon for their approach, because Roscommon would have looked at the Munster final. They saw Kerry had Clare put to bed after 15 minutes the game was over that day, and Roscommon came with a plan that they were not going to allow that to happen. That involved keep ball, long possession phases, work the shot eventually, and it worked very well for them. They starved the Kerry attack of that quick ball that they wanted and they thrived on, and it meant that they were in the game at half time. But for those technical fouls that they gave away, they could have been level or ahead. So from the Roscommon perspective, you would have been quite happy, and I'm sure Davy Burke was quite happy at half time. From the Kerry perspective, I thought in the first half they were lethargic. I thought they were sloppy. I thought they were inaccurate. And you mentioned there, Jacqui, that like, what can they do except win the games? And 100%, that's absolutely the focus. And when you strip it back and you look at it, they won by 10 points. They scored 3 goals. They kept a clean sheet. Plenty of the lads played well. They got game time into more players again. But the only thing that I'd say, to go back to something you mentioned earlier about Mayo and playing to the level of the opposition, Kerry, to me, have to, for the rest of the group. Now, Cork and Meath, Cork are going to give them a right test in a week and a half's time, or Saturday or Sunday week, whenever it's on. That's going to be a right test again. I expect it to be. But Kerry have to play at the standards of the top of the game. The games that you're seeing in Clonus last weekend, what we saw in Salt Hill, because that's, if they want to win the All-Ireland, they're the levels that they're going to have to hit to win the All-Ireland. So I think this week they'll have been a small bit underwhelmed, especially with the first half. Played well in the second half, got the job done. But I think they're just going to have to make sure that they're playing at the top of the game to be ready when they get to Croke Park, because I made the point in my Examiner column today, Dublin under Jim Gavin, it didn't matter who they were playing. Their standards were always sky high. And I never heard anyone ever wondering, when the Dubs got to Croke Park for an All-Ireland quarter-final under Jim Gavin, would they be undercooked? I never heard anyone asking that. They never were. Didn't matter who they'd played. They came through those Leinster Championship games and they won all the games by double scores, but they were ready. They were ready when they got to Croke Park, and I think Kerry have to be the same. I think they will when it'll come down to it. But the first half on Saturday was possibly a little warning shot for them, that they need to make sure that they are playing to the standards that they'd be setting within the group, not from any external person or anyone else, just at the standards they'd expect from themselves.
Yeah, that's a fair enough point. I'll give you the last word, Rory. Yeah, go for it.
Paddy Clifford missing, I think.
100%.
They're not, wouldn't say they're not the same team, but he transforms them. Like, he is he's so pivotal in terms of playmaking and vision and creativity and linking, and everything. Like he's
like what Cian Lynch is to the Limerick hurlers.
Correct. He's almost they're almost like carbon copies in two different sports. It's so, and he with him not there, you can see a noticeable difference to the way Kerry function. I think when he comes back in, Kerry will be fine.
Yeah, Kerry will be fine. Let's
yeah.
We're all fine.
Another ambush in Park.
You're well set up for it anyway. Yeah. Right, lads. Look, we'll leave it there. Éamonn, thanks a million for being with us. Have a great week, and we'll be back on Thursday to look ahead to all the weekend's games. Until then, everybody, enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Dublin lead by a point, and there's the whistle. It's over. It's over.